How do we have joy anyway, despite all of our circumstances? That's what we're going to be addressing today on Flourish-Meant. I'm your host, Tina Yeager. Flourish-Meant is sponsored by Access More. Today, I have a beautiful and precious guest with me. She is a keynote speaker, joy coach, and the author of Messy Joy: How Joy Can Begin Before Your Difficulties End. And that actually just went to #1 on Amazon's new releases in Christian self-help. So that is a huge accomplishment. This guest is Robin Shear. Welcome, Robin. I am so excited to see how you can share with us how to have joy anyway.
Hi, Tina. Gosh, I'm so happy to be here with you today. I really look forward to this.
So, in this second part of our wonderful interview with Robin Shear, I would love to delve into the nitty gritty, the practical steps that people can do to go from being joyless to joyful. Robin, do you have some advice for someone who is in a place where their life feels starved of joy, where they're craving it, but it just seems to slip from their fingers? Maybe they're not in that communal joy place. The relationships they've had have been broken, or they've experienced grief or loss, or they've experienced negativity out of those relationships, perhaps even trauma or abuse. Maybe they are personally wounded, hurting, or alone. No matter what the situation is, what would be that hopeless person's first step toward experiencing the kind of joy that you are saying is possible and reachable for them?
You know, you have just perfectly described so many of the readers that I've met of Messy Joy. I've had a couple of book signings, and it's been really beautiful to receive people's stories. And, it does kind of get me going, because these are real people and there's real hurt and there's a real need for this. Like we said in the first segment, it's not fluffy, it's foundational. And, it's just a sacred place to just be receiving, where people really are and why they need joy so badly. It reinforces the fact that God is behind this book and other books like it. But to answer your question, I think that, it's important, first of all, for a person to believe, first of all, that joy exists. Because sometimes when we get so low and we have been hurting for so long, we forget that it's even possible. We forget that it's an option at all, or that we deserve it in the first place. And so many of the people that I work with, they are so committed to loving other people well. They give their whole life, whether it's their work or their family life or whatever. They just pour into other people. They want them to have joy. They believe you deserve it, and here's how you should go get it. But when they look in the mirror, they don't have that same understanding on a personal level. They feel like they've done something wrong, or, they have to earn it in some capacity. They have to do certain things before joy is possible for them too. Maybe they've made mistakes in the past, or they've just been hurting for so long. And so, to answer your question, I mean, the first place is really just getting clear on whether or not you believe that joy is possible. Yeah. And that's not an easy task. I'm not going to sit here and say that you just check that right off the list. It really does take some inner work. That's why we have therapy. That's why we have coaching, because I think that we need to get into where that comes from and figure out how it might be stopping us from living that life of fullness that the Lord wants us to live. And so, yep, checking in and just making sure that you believe that joy is possible. And then, when you get to a place where you're like, yep, I get it, I want it, it's like something that I need, then the question becomes, what lights me up? Where have I felt most alive? Where have I just felt like I could fly? What are experiences or relationships or situations or memories that just really make me feel like I'm living abundantly? those are the types of things to dig into more often and make happen on a more regular basis. Like on a personal level, I can tell you that one of the things that brings me the most joy, and my list is really long, but is live Christian music. And when COVID hit, oh man, it was so hard to just stop going to all the Christian concerts. I mean, that is, you do not want to sit next to me in a stadium where somebody is singing live Christian music. Like all of my parts are flailing. Like I can hardly contain my joy. It just comes out of every cell that I've got. And so I know that about myself. And so therefore I make it a point then to seek out these Christian concerts. I know what brings me joy and I do something about it. And I believe that I deserve it, not just the people that I love, but I deserve it. I'm a daughter of the King. Like he wants me to have fullness of life. It's not just for other people. And when I feel good, I can help other people feel good as well. So there we go, back to that communal joy thing.
So feeling good is about helping other people feel good. And those once in a while experiences are fantastic things to set before us as great, wonderful treats. What are some ways that people can plug joy into their daily lives, into the way that they do all the things that they do?
Such a good question, because I can't go to see Toby Mac every day of the week, right? I would
Wouldn't
like
that be
to.
great? But no.
Right. Right. So yeah, where do we find joy in the everyday mundane? Where do I find it when I have 10 errands that I have to run, or when my friend is going through chemotherapy for breast cancer? Where do I find it in the trenches of life? And that is a very personal thing. I can use myself as an example. Like I know that connection is a big one for me. And I can connect with people that I care about or strangers every single day of the week. And when I don't feel like myself, when my own joy bucket is running a little on the low side, I'll check in and I'll ask myself, wow, how long has it been since you've actually connected with someone? Am I so busy doing other things that I've just tuned people out altogether? So it's about knowing what brings you joy and then checking in, when you're running a little bit low. And you could even, if you really want to win, you could even schedule, on a regular basis, things into your day that are going to fill you up so that you overflow. So for example, if connection is the example, I could put in a recess break every day at 2 o'clock into my phone, and I could have an alarm go off. And every day at 2 o'clock, I could use that 5 minutes to reach out to somebody. I could connect with you. I could connect with other Christian authors, family members, people that I run into, but it's an intentional choice on my part to do something that I know is meaningful, that brings me joy. But again, like it allows me to give that away, right? So everywhere I go, I like to get their stories. And so it doesn't have to be someone that I know. I find a lot of joy in just meeting people where they are. So yeah.
So I love that you are getting us to do more and more often things that bring us joy, that fill us up. But could joy also be not just about what we do, but how we do the things that we have to do? Sometimes the ordinary things and the hard things. Can you find and apply joy in those things as well?
Oh, what a good question. I love that. And I don't think any podcast host has ever asked me that question. So go Flourish-Meant. Yeah, the answer is a definite yes, especially when you find joy in things like gratitude. So, if you know that gratitude fills you up with joy, and you are living in the mundane every day, and you stop and dig into what about that situation makes you grateful, you'll just naturally fill with joy. So as an example, okay, so my friend who's going through chemotherapy for breast cancer, I mean, it's really hard for a person in that situation to walk in and say, wow, I am so grateful for this, right? But what happens, when we stop and think, gosh, I'm so grateful that God made people smart enough to figure out how to make these medicines in the first place. Like, I didn't ask for cancer, I didn't ask for whatever diagnosis, but I am so grateful that help is available. And I am so grateful that I had a car that got me to treatment today. Like there are people in other countries who walk for days to get medical care. We've heard about those stories. I got in a car and I drove. I got right to my appointment. I'm so grateful that my husband's job provides insurance so that I don't have to pay for all of this out of pocket. I don't have to remortgage my house. I don't have to live on the streets to pay for my treatment. Wow, I have the resources to get the help that I need. And I'm so grateful for the kindness in the nurses' eyes. You know, they come in, they check on me, they adjust my meds, they bring water, they care about me. Like I can feel their compassion. And I'm so grateful to be receiving that. So, I mean, we could talk about that one thing all day long. And I think that, because gratitude and joy play so nicely together, I feel like that's one that pretty much everyone can relate to. And so when a person is really in the grind, when they're in the everyday activities, I would invite them to really dig into gratitude and allow that to bring joy. And, in America, we have Thanksgiving and we go around the table and we talk about what we're thankful for. And I love that tradition. But I think sometimes we phone it in just a little bit on that. We just quickly spout out our answers without really giving thought to why those things matter. And, the type of gratitude that I'm talking about is really about why. Get into the nitty gritty. And if it's hard to think of something, that's okay. Get down to the granular level. Then think about the joy that you can find because you're thankful for the fact that you got out of bed to go to treatment at all that day. But get down into the details. And pretty soon you'll find you're so full of joy. Like, yep, you're still going to chemotherapy, but there is joy to be found in that circumstance.
Robin, do you have any final words that you want to leave with the audience to encourage them on how they can get joy, even if it's messy?
Yeah, I think that my final thought there is to embrace the fact that you can have messy joy. Like so often we look at messes as bad things. We think, if something's dirty, we need to clean it up. What if we look at our messes differently? What if because of the messes, joy is possible? Like there are so many times that, joy wouldn't have happened without some crazy circumstance in the first place, without that dirty mess. And so my thought is, let's embrace it. Let's embrace those times when things aren't perfect and they don't go according to plan. Where is the goodness? Like, where is the blessing? How is God using that to reach you and to fill you up so that you overflow? So embrace those moments of messy joy. That's my advice.
It sounds like art. Nothing beautiful comes until after you've made a big mess first. So yes. I love that.
I do too.
I hope that you have all enjoyed this artful and lovely conversation with Robin Shear. And I hope that you will connect with her at her website. Robin, can you list your website again and the title of your book and how people can connect with you?
I can. My website is joytotheworldcoaching.com, and I've just put up a 30-day messy joy journal. So if you'd like to get 30 days of questions to help you dig into the subject of messy joy, they're free. They're over at joytotheworldcoaching.com/messy joy questions. That is the world's longest website.
Well, thank you, Robin. I hope that you will go and connect with the world's longest website because it's worth it to connect with Robin. And of course, I also hope that you come back for the next episode of Flourish-Meant. Flourish-Meant is part of the Spark Media Network and can be found on the Edify app.